of the Lord. One of the more common fears that people tend to have is a fear of flying. It's not a fear I have, thank God. I have other fears, but I don't have that one. And of course, the reason people fear that is because when they're up there, they feel very vulnerable. And especially if there's turbulence, they feel very unstable. They feel like that plane is going down, I can tell you my poor sister suffers horribly from it. And whenever there's any turbulence on a flight, she'll dig her nails into my arm as if my arm could stop the turbulence somehow. And it's kind of, it's funny in some way. It's sad. I feel for the poor people that suffer from this. I remember once on a flight going into Cuba. I was there for the papal visit some years ago, and we encountered a very bad storm as we were getting ready to land. And listen, it was dark, it was extremely bumpy, that plane was going up and down and all over the place. And a poor woman, I could tell she had never flown much. There's a Cuban lady, very clearly, in the middle of this thing, she screamed out in a loud voice, "Ay, se cae, se cae, it's going down, it's going down," Poor soul. But of course, turbulence is no fun, even if you're not deathly scared of it. It's uncomfortable. It's unsteady, right? You're surrounded by darkness. You kind of feel stuck usually it happens, right? As you go through, you can get turbulence anytime, but more times than not, it happens as you're going through dense cloud cover, especially if you're going through a storm, you're gonna get turbulence. And again, it's unstable, it's dark, you feel like you're going nowhere. And interestingly, what pilots will tend to do if turbulence is very bad is they will seek a higher altitude. Naturally, they point that plane, in a different direction. They seek to go up above the clouds. And once you make that transition and you can climb up there, well, it's calm, it's beautiful, right? You feel like you're going somewhere. Well, there's a little bit of that, in the gospel of this fourth Sunday of Lent. You have Nicodemus, this good man who is a very, very prominent religious leader. And, the rising popularity of Jesus, let's say, in his world has created tremendous turbulence, because while he can recognize some of the positive elements in what the Pharisees were practicing and promoting, he's wise enough to see the incompletion that is there. And he can begin to see how this person of Jesus, everything that he's preaching, everything that he's modeling, everything that he's doing, how Jesus is bringing greater completion to that incompletion that they are practicing. And so he, under the cover of darkness, right, secretly, going through the turbulence in his life, he seeks an encounter with Jesus. He seeks greater light. He seeks greater clarity. He seeks greater peace. And Jesus, endorses what he does. And he reminds them that he has come, himself, Jesus, that he has come to be lifted up, right? To be lifted up. And he's alluding, of course, to his death and all that follows thereafter. The resurrection, his ascension into heaven. And he draws attention to that to make Nicodemus aware that this is what he comes to do for all of humanity, that he comes to help all of us to be lifted up lifted up above the darkness, lifted up above the unsteadiness, lifted up above the anxiety, the fear, the turbulence that is part of our lives. And this is what we live through as well. We go through all kinds of turbulence. Some of it of our own doing, some of it not necessarily of our own doing. It all gets enmeshed in there. And when we go through such darkness, such turbulence in our lives, this is due to some incompletion that is there in our perspectives, in the perspectives of others, in the habits that are part of our lives, and the habits that are part of other people's lives, and they affect us. And, we feel fearful, we feel anxious, we feel stuck, we get frustrated, right? Turbulence tends to not bring out the best in us. But the Lord calls us to rise above it, to seek the light, to seek stability, seek the beauty, seek the calm, so that we can be aware that our lives are meaningful and they serve a purpose and we're going somewhere. So how do we do that? How do we do that? Our circumstances are all very different, of course, but Jesus gives us the key here, or I should say Nicodemus gives us the key to how to rise above the turbulence in this gospel passage. He seeks an encounter. He seeks a meaningful encounter with the Lord. Season of Lent gives us the recipe, gives us what it is that we need to do to be able to rise above our turbulence, to be able to overcome our darkness. And it all hinges around that. It all hinges around encountering Christ. There are no magic secret techniques to get rid of this, that, and the other thing. Yeah, there are common sense practices, of course, but we're going to overcome our turbulence. We're going to be able to rise above our darkness, our unsteadiness, our fear, our anxiety, our whatever, to the degree that we meaningfully seek to encounter Jesus in prayer, in worship, as you are doing now, in works of charity, as we try to give life to others. Whenever we exercise charity, we are encountering Jesus. We are living out what Jesus does. We're helping to lift someone up, and we're lifting up ourselves in the process. There's no magic formula. It all hinges around what Nicodemus did in the midst of our darkness, the midst of our turbulence. Let us meaningfully seek to encounter the Lord. So, as we prepare ourselves to enter into the home stretch of this Lenten season, as today, right, we embark on daylight saving time, and we become exposed to a little more light in our days as we rejoice in that, and as we seek that oncoming light of Easter. Let us bask in that light. Let us seek the light. Let us seek the Lord, so that we may rise above our turbulence, rise above our darkness, and enjoy that realm where Jesus wants to take us, where it's beautiful, where it's calm, where we feel like we're really going somewhere.